Hey everyone, I want to do another quick video showing a match from my Treasure Cup run back on the 18th. So this is a match, um, we'll go ahead and just punch my camera there. This is a match against Katakuri, which is one of Queen's worst matchups. I chose to go second. I later learned after this that it's probably better to go first against Katakuri as Queen. I think it has to do with just reducing the number of attacks that come at you. You really just want to delay the game long enough to get to your top end, which makes sense. But he's going first. He gets the pudding into the Parasparrow, so a really nice opening turn for him. And he's about to pass. I definitely not a matchup I practiced enough. I do a lot of practice on the sim, and I just wasn't seeing Katakuri's as much, so should have tried to kind of get some webcam games in. And I think I actually just pass here. So no Peronas in my hand to open with, which is unfortunate. So I think probably another problem here is I have too many cards in my hand right off the bat, nothing to play. So he does 5k with lead. I'm thinking about it. I could counter out right away, most likely, but I want to see if I'm getting a good trigger, and I pick that up. Looks like a Perona, clearly very, very bad at keeping my hand from bleeding on the camera. So a nice little thing to work on for myself. And then he just plays that Parasparrow that we knew he had. All right, I'm now on my forward on turn, so looking to play some things, start to thin out my hand. First 5k at lead. Unlike other matchups where I kind of hold out on attacking with Katakuri, I just want to start getting cards out of his hand. I want to start getting his life down, but more importantly, cards out of his hand. So he does counter out Shirahoshi, which is nice, and then I get the 3,000 worlds on the Parasparrow, so he can't get the effect. So overall, feeling pretty good about how those first two turns are shaken up. Or shook out, I should say. Back to him. He has 5 Dawn, 7k at lead. Now I have to drop 2 cards counter out. I pick up 1 more life. Again, no trigger, so not getting super lucky here. And he now has 4 Dawn left. He's thinking about it. The big problem with this matchup is obviously the 10 drop big mom. Once that comes out, you're losing your life. So even if you stacked it, you're kind of in trouble. Something to always be afraid of, and not much you can do about that as queen. You're not aggressive enough to finish the game before that becomes a problem. And so he plays the Sanji, passes it back to me. I have 2 life. First thing I do is 6k at lead. Seeing if he'll drop a 2k for it. He picks that one up, hoping it's not a trigger, and it's Shirahoshi, which is really, really good for him. Get some cards, get some cycle. So waiting for him to decide what's trash. He's got the Thunderbolt, which I'm happy that it's not in life. Happy to be rid of that. I think Thunderbolt is very, very scary in this matchup as well, because you really, you're playing very, very close to death. You're playing maybe 1 or 2 life, and then 1 or 2 blockers, especially if you're not getting blockers off of life, as I have not been. So a well-timed Thunderbolt on Katakuri's part can really ruin your day. And so I actually bottomed that. I remember this match, and part of what I was looking for is red rocks. I just want a lot of red rocks to make sure I have answers for those 10 drops, because if they stay on board, they're really just going to win the game for him. And so didn't see one in the top 5 there. Bottomed those cards, figured I didn't need them, played the Sanji, and passed turn back. So now he's thinking about how to play this for his, I believe, 7 Dawn turn. He has a decently wide board, the Sanji, the Pudding, and the Shirahoshi, which unlikely to be an attacker, but could easily put 3 Dawn under Pudding and get 3 swings off, which puts some nice pressure on me, but I think he takes this turn to develop his board a little further. Oh, I recall what just happened. He actually had a phone call come in at the time. I told him it was fine to take it. He was telling his buddy that he couldn't talk. So he's back, taking his turn. First thing does 5k with Sanji. I should hopefully be able to counter out of that without going down 1 more life. I give him a Brûlée. Now he's going to do the 7K. This will take 2 cards. If I recall this match, I feel like my hand was not... Oh, no, he looked at my top life first. And he puts that on the bottom, which honestly was a very, very good move. Thinking about how this game ended, I ended up taking that. Yep, but I got a bunch of pages. I think he actually warns me that my hand is bleeding here. That Gum Gum Rain ends up being really, really important. As I recall, kind of later in the match, my hand ends up becoming very top end heavy, and I don't have enough counter to survive. And had I had that Gum Gum Rain in that moment, I would have been able to counter 3K, but also pitch a card that had no counter power, which would have helped me kind of heal and hopefully stay in this a little longer. But he plays the Cracker. So now and the Brulee. So he has the Brulee, Cracker, and a Sanji on board. So he's looking really, really good. I am at 1 life. I'm on my 8th on turn, I believe. So this is not looking good for me, but I haven't played any of my top end yet, so I have a chance to heal back some of this. First thing I do is 5K with Baroda, just trying to put some pressure on his board. I believe it's at the Sanji, just to force him to either trash cards or lose some of the swings on board. He was not tapping that for an event. He was just confirming that was tapped earlier, and he had forgotten to actually turn it to the side. And then 3,000 Worlds, the Cracker. So didn't play Katakuri or anything like that, but did get 2 things removed, and then get Brona. So another search here. So thinking about whether to keep this on the top or the bottom, I'm trying to remember if this is the search where I think I might have misplayed. I don't remember exactly what my hand was at the time, but I do recall that one of the searches, potentially this one, had a lot of 9 drops and other things in it that are good if I'm in a better position than I am, but bad if I'm looking to counter out aggressively. And so I should have bottomed it and looked for red rocks again, but I ended up keeping it, and could have been my ultimate downfall in this match. Yeah, so that's the one I top. I don't believe there were any red rocks in that, and that's really what I was needed in this matchup. And I think it also ends up being a lot of dead cards in hand in the next couple of turns. So back to him. He's at 9 down now. I got rid of most of his attackers, so able to counter and block more easily, but he's getting very close to that 10 drop. He could Yamato, he could 7 drop, so he has a lot of options on his turn. And then he's taking some time to think about it. All right, so he's finally ready to put some Dawn down. I think he's going to start with a 7K swing here. Oh, changes his mind. Ooh, puts that all under Pudding, so that's 7K on Pudding. It's 2 cards. Again, bleeding my hand a little bit there, but give him 2/2Ks, which I think tells him a lot about what's in my hand in terms of counter. And then another big swing on Katakuri. That is 9K. He looks at his top life, puts it on the bottom. He still has 4 life, so have not done a good job of kind of putting a dent in that. I blocked there rather than take the life and go to 0. In retrospect, maybe should have just gone to 0, but I think I've got plans to heal next turn and hoping that that gets me a little closer. So I am at my 10 Dawn turn here. First thing I'm going to do is just swing into the Pudding. An easy 2K into a 2K. Don't have to put much thought behind that one. Looks like I do have another Sanji to play. But first, I'm going to play 9 Dawn. Yamato, heal 1, kill the Brûlée. And then 6, I do not have enough, or I have too many in hand to heal. I probably, if I remember correctly, I maybe could have like over-countered or just pitched cards in an attack that I wouldn't have been able to prevent just to get myself a little closer there. So I would have been at 3 life. I don't remember exactly how many dead cards in hand that I had at this time, but I think it was enough that doing that would not have been sufficient to get me to 2 cards in hand for this heal. Yep, and he plays 10 drop right on curve. Pitch 3000 Worlds. I still know that bottom life is a Gum Gum Rain. I am definitely really banking on it because I was very counter light at this point. So I was glad the 10 drop got the 3000 World, which at this point is not super useful for me. He has really nothing on board that I need to remove with that. And then he swings 5k and I counter with Soga King. That was, again, another misplay. I think I didn't really have a lot of things to counter with. I believe my only other counter card was a Sanji, and I wanted to play the blocker. But based on how I stacked my life, that Soga King would have been really, really important. I was hoping he would play like a 6-drop Paris Sparrow or like Randolph or something that I could toss back into his hand for some high value, but that never ended up happening, and definitely not putting Shirahoshi back in there. Even, I mean, yeah, unlikely he would have played it flat, but don't want to even give him the chance to. So yeah, pitched Soga King and I ended up really needing it in the next couple of turns. Yeah, so taking the time to think through here what I'm going to do. Don't have a lot of great options. I do 9k with the Yamato to start off. He takes, I am getting a bit fortunate. His first life was a Shirahoshi, but outside of that, he has been pulling a lot of triggers, so pretty fortunate that there isn't kind of like a Cracker or Sanji or something coming back on the crackback here. So I think my priorities here are, establishing a blocker and getting a heal off just to get back to 2 life, because I know 2 big swings on the board from Big Mom and Katakuri leader. So first I do 7k with the pudding. He takes. Then I pay 4 for Sanji blocker, which gets me to 3 in hand. So I'm able to heal 1 and 6k with leader. I think in retrospect it would have made more sense to do 6k than 7k, but one thing I was like concerned about is he takes this attack and then it ends up being a Thunderbolt and then I lose that blocker, which would be pretty devastating at this stage. So I might have purposefully just done a weaker attack here just so that he would counter out of it and I wouldn't risk losing that blocker. Could have a Thunderbolt in hand. That doesn't necessarily win him the game, but it gets him close. He swings into the Yamato. I let it go. I know I have other big bodies coming in, and I didn't want to lose the blocker and then lose Yamato anyways, because he could just go 9k on the Katakuri, and I think I lose it. So he's thinking about it. Now that I know what actually happens, I think I might have blocked here. I don't know if it would have changed his line of play, but he unfortunately does have a second 10 drop in hand, and he's about to play it on this turn. Which hard to say if I just get unlucky or if I misplayed very aggressively here. But back-to-back 10 drop is really, really difficult to deal with. So I take that one, hoping it's a trigger. Or actually, I would know it's not. I think it's a large body, and then he 10 drops, and then I lose the Gum Gum Rain. So I don't think I even had the 1k counter to get out of that. So now I am in big trouble. I have too many cards in hand. I have there's a 10 drop on board, or 2 10 drops on board. So I'm recognizing that it's pretty much over for me. and I don't have any red rocks to get rid of them. I could swing really big into one of them, but he has so many cards in hand. He hasn't really been countering out at all. So yeah, this has been unfortunately like a pretty one-sided match in the late game. I did not see really any like Hancocks or Belays off life. Did not see any of my red rocks. I saw too much of my top end, and I think a big part of that was keeping that second Perona search instead of putting it to the bottom. So what I end up doing on this final turn, I do 5k with the Sanji, which confuses him. He's not really sure why I'm doing that. Thinking maybe I go for game. I do have technically 4 swings, but no way is 2 Peronas and Queen enough to take 3 life and go for game here. He's deciding if he wants to take this one. All right. And he decides to take. I do 7k on lead. Or first I do 8k Katakuri, put my Sanji back in life, which gives me essentially 2 blocks out of him, which was kind of the best I could do. And then 7k on lead, too many cards in hand to heal. I think had I been able to get a heal here, there was a chance that I could survive and go for game in the subsequent turn. It gives me a 2k and a 1k, but because I had too many cards in hand, which again, my own fault for putting all of those top end cards in my search and not putting more counter cards in there, I did not have a chance to heal here. And so he takes it back, and he recognizes I have 4 cards in hand. He doesn't realize that they're all pretty much dead in hand. And so he starts to plan out his swings. But I mean, even if those were all 2Ks, I don't think there's math here that loses him the game. He just has to get, cheap swing in, and then he has 2 big moms. So he's thinking about Shirahoshi. Probably even unnecessary. I would have just done like 10k or something on Katakuri, and then just do the rest on big moms. Yeah. Taking a moment here to text my friend and tell him I lost this round, and I got absolutely misplayed by setting myself up with some dead hand cards for like the next 5 turns. I think on that Prone search it was like 1 3000 worlds and then 4 9-drops like Yamato's, Mihawks, and maybe like a Katakuri or something. So yeah, he does exactly what I was just saying. Puts it on the Katakuri. I think he goes big. He goes like 12k there. Pitch a Mihawk and then splits it across Big Mom and then next Big Mom. And that's game. So it's Katakuri. Give me the fist bump there. Yeah, it looks like I have Katakuri into Yamato's. So horrible hand to see when you're trying to survive 2 big moms. And kind of telling him a little bit about how I did a bad search there and kind of deviated from my own strategy and stopped looking for those red rocks. I actually looked at the top 5 and the very next card was a red rock. So had I done what I originally planned and bottomed those cards, I would have drawn into red rock immediately. And then I could have had a chance of bottoming one of those big moms and maybe surviving this turn. So definitely unfortunate, but you gotta play very carefully to this matchup, and I think definitely a lot I could learn if I were to play Queen again in OPO5 against Katakuri or other yellow decks. But overall, really good match. I think a little closer than I thought, especially with what his life turned out to be. And so if I was able to get 1 or 2 more turns out, there was a shot of me taking it here. So definitely a good lesson for the next time.